Hey everybody, and welcome to a video covering the 7 most beginner-friendly teams in Galaxy of Heroes in 2024. These are teams that I think are pretty easy to acquire, very useful, and don't require too much of a stretch in terms of hard to get resources like Chirotex, Omicron, Zeta, stuff like that. And I show CLS here not because he's on the list, he's actually an honorable mention. So I think he is more difficult to get up and running with his choice squad. You see 3PO is a difficult unlock, Chewbacca takes some time, and then it's a bunch of legendaries. So it is not completely super free to play friendly. It is a great team, and it's an honorable mention here, so a lot easier than others, but he is not part of the list. So without further ado, let's get into number 7. Number 7 is Bounty Hunters, and they're this low mainly because Bosk is not farmable until level 85. Now that is changing the speed at which you can get to level 85, but when I did it this year, it took 100 days, so over 3 months to do it. And then I could only start farming him, and he's still not 7 stars, and I'm almost at 6 months on this account. But the others are, Django is a little bit later a farm as well, but Boba is very accessible, same with Grief and Mando. The downside as well, we got 2 Chirotech characters here, but they are definitely, actually, maybe Grief isn't, so it may just be Mando, so that is good. But he gets stuck at gear 8 with Chirotech, but you do want these two. They're part of the best squad on any level. You could have Dengar in there as well, and he is an easier farm just because he is in the guild store for 200 currency per instance. So you could sub someone out. But Django's recommended because, one, he's awesome, and he also has Houndstooth. And these guys have a lot of ships, which helps. There's a lot of events that use them. So they're scoundrels, so credit heist and the training droid thing. And they have an assault battle, which you can get the lower levels with. And what is it called? It's like galactic bounties. So those are very important. There's a ton of events for these guys. And yeah, they come in at number 7. Just Bosk is the big holdback, being only farmable at level 85. Number 6 is Jedi, and I have a few different varieties to this because they don't really take off until you get Jedi Knight Revan. You can use Bastila Lead until then, and that's really going to help out in Galactic War because every single time you go in, you're going to have lots of extra bonus protection. But they're all very easily accessible, and they stack with each other because once you get 5 5-star Jedi, you can unlock Yoda for free. It's easy. Mace is easily farmable, and the reason I have these ahead of Bounty Hunters is because they lead into the best fleet. So I think the dominant approach is to start with a Mace Endurance fleet, Galactic Republic ships, Anakin and Ahsoka, and then work into Negotiator. And like I said, this is kind of a flexible lineup. Like, you should have different Jedi, so like 7 or 8 Jedi that can be used and you're not necessarily using. So on one given squad at this point in this account, I'd probably just run Jedi Knight Revan, and I'd still have a good character on the bench as far as a Jedi. But when you don't have Revan yet, you can have Ahsoka in there or General Kenobi and still make it work. And we got 3 really strong fleet characters in here. You don't even have to run Bastila. You don't have to farm Bastila if you're not going for Jedi Knight Revan. You could use a General Kenobi lead or a Mace lead or even an Anakin lead. Like, they all have leads and they all do something kind of nice. Anakin, lots of extra offense. General Kenobi, he's got lots of extra defense and health. But the big thing is the fleets. They also have an assault battle, so it's good to work on them at some point or another. But really, it's the fleets for me and the ease of acquisition. General Kenobi is probably the hardest just because he has more expensive raid currency shipments. But Ahsoka, really accessible. Anakin's a little slower, but you can farm him really early. Mace in the shipments. So they're a great beginner-friendly faction. Coming in at number 5, we got Geonosians, and they are just very easily accessible, and they scale down super well. So they get strong really fast. The reason being is Geonosian Brood Alpha, you can only start farming them Geo Brood Alpha at level 83, so it takes some time. But his level 7 leadership ability, plus 15,000 max health and protection for the team. This is like one of the only times you see a big flat number like that. And that allows like gear 6 characters to look like they're gear 10. So it really bulks them up. It's easy to use. The mass swarming, it's very forgiving. You don't have to know exactly what you're doing, and it's going to be fine. They also have ships, which can be helpful in that dark side fleet challenge. Yeah, that's not necessarily going to be as hard anymore when they're giving out a bunch of new ships in early game. But just a strong dark side team to have. It's pretty good in dark side GOTB, which a lot of newer players will be running with their guilds for a while. There's special missions. There's the Watt mission. So very important for an early game player, because while people don't care about Kide Mundi and Light Side GOTB, they do care about Watt Tambor and Dark Side TB. And they only have 2 Zetas on the whole team, and I think you only really need one, the one that lets the Geonosian Brute summon. So it's really a 6-man team. So definitely very beginner friendly, very easily accessible for all of them. Geonosian Brute Alpha comes a little bit later, but once he is available, definitely get him right away. Number 4 is Iden Versio Troopers, and as you can see by the state of mine, I have not really developed mine much, because I went a different route in the beginning. This is mainly a really beginner friendly team, like when you're not level 85 yet and you're having trouble with Galactic War. They crush it in Galactic War. They're good in Squad Arena, and while they are Imperial Troopers, they are not really good for that assault battle or the Empire assault battle. So they're not going to be carrying you far like Veer's Troopers will, but they're definitely very easily accessible. Snow Trooper in Bronzing packs, Stark, cheap raid shipments, Magma Trooper, Galactic War Store, Stormtrooper, I think he's Cantina Store, and then Iden, you got to farm on the hard node. But she has an amazing ship. That's something you don't have to wait forever to get as well. So it's a great ship. She's a great leader. She's just like a juggernaut on her own. Once you get to Grand Arena, if you do give the Omicron to her, I would only recommend it if she's one of your only good teams, because there's other good Omicrons that are priorities, more transformative. But they got counterattacks, they got protection recovery, they do tons of damage. It's just really easily accessible and really hard hitting. So definitely an option to consider. I'd consider it the number 3 first team to consider, but definitely worth looking at. Number 3, at least in my opinion, is an Emperor Palpatine team. The core being Palpatine and Vader, the rest are kind of flexible. Now, Mary Jade is built for Palpatine, but she is a slow farm and she requires Kyrotex, so you need Kyrotex to get her past Gear 9. But the rest of the characters here are non-Kyrotech characters, you don't need them before you're trying to get to Gear 13. There's some easy farms in here, so Savage, really easy Squad Arena store. Vader, you don't even necessarily have to target farm him. You're going to be getting achievements, and it comes surprisingly fast, his shards, and then once you have the fleet store, you can accelerate that. So he is easy, and then Palp and Vader, they're not really even a farm. They're a reward for having another team that's really good. So if you have Phoenix, which is ahead of them on this list, if you have Phoenix, you're getting 2 characters for free. That cannot be understated, the value of just getting some free characters. With how long it takes to farm characters in this game, Journey Guide characters are just a nice bonus. You don't have to work hard at it. So that's why I like them here. That's why they're so easily free-to-play friendly for me. Palp and Vader can be in 2 different assault battles. You can use all these. And so if you take out Savage and an Empire character, and I have Savage there just because once you get to level 85, I think he's a great candidate for first Omicron. You gotta have, TIE Fighter Pilot is an early ship, so that's why I had him at Gear 10. But they can work in the Force Moon Assault battles, or you can take a bunch of Sith once you have them start up and go into Places of Power Assault battle. But Darth Vader has a ship, Palpatine's, the stuns, the Terminator train, any kind of Terminator train team you can get a hold of early is really nice. Palpatine Zeta, I think, was my second Zeta ever. Merciless Massacre on Vader was Palpatine was, he was second, no, third, I don't know. But Merciless Massacre on Vader and Palpatine's lead were some of my very early Zetas. Thrawn's Fracture is just you don't need him high leveled at all. Mine's still level 76. You can just lock down any character except a Galactic Legend. They can't do anything. So just a really good team. I love it. It's not as strong as it used to be back in the day, but it's still very beginner friendly. Number 2, the runner-up, the silver medalist, and just definitely one of the 2 dominant choices to be your very first team is Veer's Imperial Troopers. This is a turn meter train team. If you have PS Zeta, which will take a while to get, and he's a little bit of a slower unlock. If you go first, you can just run the table on the enemy team. If they don't have a catch-up mechanic, like you can just go on forever. And the squad is a little bit flexible on the edges. I have Stark and Gideon here just because they are more easily accessible or easy to farm to 7 stars. But Range Trooper is actually a great slot in here. Also, Dark Trooper for assault battles, you might want to use Stormtrooper because he's more survivable. But for the PvP aspects, I really like having Dark Trooper there. I mean, he hits like a truck. But this team's only going to need probably 2 Zetas. Veer Zeta, then Piet's unique, and then it's running just fine. Dark Trooper has a Zeta, which is helpful, but I don't think it's absolutely mandatory. But he hits like a truck. Piet's powering up the team with that Emperor's Trap, and through Veer's lead, I think he's giving turn meter out to the whole team. They just go and go and go. Colonel Stark's there, helps remove turn meter from the enemy if they're starting to get a little close, starting to encroach on you, and he gives a lot of buffs. Range Trooper has assists all the time. So these are going to curb stomp Galactic War for you. They are going to crush 2 assault battles for you. Probably the most clear-cut, valuable assault battle team. That's once you're level 85 and you've got a decent amount of gear, 11, 12, maybe 13 on them. But they're not going to disappoint you early on. Piet, it's a little harder to farm them with Piet being on a later node. I mean, it's not as bad as Bosk. He's also a Kyrotech character, same with Dark Trooper. Range Trooper's a hard node, so they're slow. Veers is a hard node, but also has shipments with Get 1, which I do think is worth it if you're trying to get something done fast. And then Stark, we already talked about him in Inversio. It's only the 200 node, or 200 currency raid shop. And then Moff Gideon, you can get him in Cantina, and he's a pretty low energy node, so he's not hard to get as well, but he is another Kyrotech character. So yeah, Imperial Troopers, runner-up in my opinion, but still one of the 2 best beginner teams in the game. And the absolute best beginner team, I don't think it's even a conversation anymore, is Phoenix with Captain Rex. So Captain Rex was out of the game a little over a year ago. He has now accelerated. Like, I farmed him this year 1 shard at a time, the hard way. And even though he is a Kyrotech character, he can get to gear 10 without Kyrotech. So that's more than enough to get most things done on a beginner account. And then you give him 1 Kyrotech, it gets to gear 11. His 2 Kyrotech gate is from gear 11 to 12. And that's actually a big deal because gear 11 is significant with him. He has great stats. Look at that protection, 56,000. He's a support character. But he has great damage. His ability, Hera shares all of uniques among all Phoenix. And Rex's unique is incredible. It gives turn meter, gives extra health, it's extra speed, I think it's extra damage. The Zeta is accessible at level 72. That is unheard of. Like, I don't know how many other Zetas come before like level 80. So you can get it really early. The team, it's kind of a turn meter trained team like Imperial Troopers. But Imperial Troopers, if they get hit early, they can't really recover. They need to be going. Phoenix, they can take some punches. They got resilience. They got survivability. If they're getting debuffed, they're going to generate turn meter and come back and hit you in the face too. Mass swarms on every attack, like Geonosian. Like every special attack, like Geonosian. AoE days, tenacity down, offense down, and then you get offense up and something else on the same move from Rex. Just incredible move. Good for 2 assault battles. Secrets and Shadows is a little bit harder. I'm still working on that. But I got Challenge Tier 1 done on Military Might with this squad. Hera was even Gear 11. And another thing, they are just incredible on Conquest. I moved up to normal Conquest recently with my roster. I only have like 1 Relic team, full Relic team. Not even full. Like the Giant team is close. But Phoenix is even better than that team. And that's all Relics. And this is Gear 11. Just their mechanics scale so well. If you have just Phoenix and 1 other good team, you can do normal Conquest as soon as you finish easy Conquest. Like, it is crazy. I have Zeb here. Later game, like end game, I think is when you want Sabine. But before that, I think you want Zeb. This team is all easy to farm. It's a lot of shipments. So Chopper is in Cantina Store. Zeb, Galactic War, super easy. When you first start, like before level 85, Ezra is actually going to be very useful in there too. Before you can unlock Captain Rex, like when you're farming him, because he is a hard node, it might take like a couple weeks or something. Ezra is farmed alongside Kanan. I had Kanan and Ezra done in like the first week. Hera's a little slower to get to 7 stars as well because she is a hard node. But yeah, shipment characters, Cantina, really fast. Sabine's hard no too, so she takes longer. Zeb is just really friendly because he adds extra bulk to the team. He's super easy farm, stuns galore, extra date. Like, he's just great. So this team, I cannot say enough about it. I love this team. This should be just the first choice. I mean, I think Imperial Troopers, some people will still choose to do out of just commitment to the past, but Phoenix is the absolute way to go for your first team, and keep building them until, I don't know, until it stops making sense. All right, well, that's been it for this this video. I hope this helps people out. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree on these beginner-friendly teams? Yeah, so appreciate it, guys.